The last guy quite literally did, and I loved him for it. Okay, what the fuck are you talking about? AMLO straight up said duendes were real. What are you talking about? That has nothing to do with what I'm saying anyway. What the fuck? It's the funniest thing to say. Mexico has a unique problem with femicide, for example. Not to say that America does not, but not to say that. But the people are not anti-abortion, for example. Okay, neither is America. What are you talking about? The problem is Mexico has, in spite of social conservatism or any sort of hangups that they might have, Mexico and Mexicans broadly have voted for a bold candidate that is continuing, that is the successor of a former candidate that expanded the welfare state. My point is, in a country that is experiencing a lot of femicide, they still voted for a woman. Now, of course, the other side also had a woman, let's be fair. But, you know, a Jewish woman in a Catholic country. That means that people didn't necessarily care about it too much. My point is, under different circumstances with the Democratic Party's calculation, that would be a major hangup. Oh, we can't have a Jewish person run. Are you kidding me? They need a white guy. They need a white guy who's Catholic to fucking run the country. Why didn't they do that? Because she was the best vehicle, the best messenger, the best continuation of AMLO's policies. It was the policies that made Morena popular. That's it. It's crazy. Republicans do a very good job with redirecting the attention of their base to culture war issues, culture war narratives that they fucking dominate the airwaves with. They badger you all the time. They make mountains out of molehills. They create problems where none exist. They invent new hysterics and then declare war on said hysterical frameworks that only they are tasked with defeating. They create a narrative environment that makes people feel like they are the only victors here. Democrats, on the other hand, play fucking defense against those completely made up narratives, no matter how stupid or hysterical they may be. And then sometimes they adopt the framework of their opposition. This is a mistake. I've said over and over again that my anger and resentment for the Democratic Party stems from their closeness to the Republicans. The very fact that they do not fight the Republicans. Kamala Harris was a perfect demonstration of this method. It was a perfect demonstration of the failure of this method. And yet, 9 months after the fact, we're still stuck relitigating this failed franchise for some weird fucking reason. And liberals still eat this shit up. I don't get it. Half of the liberals that you know, half of the normie liberals that you know, on the one hand, still abide by this undeserved loyalty to Kamala Harris and the establishment Democrats for some indecipherable reason to me. Don't know why. But those very same liberals are also angry at Hakeem Jeffries and angry at Chuck Schumer. They think Kamala Harris is this perfect president and ran a perfect campaign, while simultaneously they recognize that the current Democratic Party is not doing enough. These two things are contradictory to one another. Kamala Harris is exactly of the same mindset of the current Democratic Party that's not doing enough. That's precisely the reason why she didn't say shit for months while she was writing her book. What is this dog doing? Out of here. Of course, Mexico is more socially conservative broadly than America. Come on now. It is. It is. It is. I mean, it's just America is very socially conservative as well. It's a pure Catholic country, almost entirety. Shut the fuck. It's not loser ass fuck. This doesn't mean that there aren't progressive voices. We are culturally Catholic, but people do not believe in magical beings. Wait, what? First of all, that's it. Huh. American liberals are coping by saying they didn't know Mexico was so progressive. Like, in some ways it is, and in some ways it's way less progressive than America, but it doesn't fucking matter. Please do not let these chatters confuse you. The misogyny in Mexico is insane. I'm baffled at chat right now. I know, it doesn't matter. But Mexico is politically left-leaning, but also socially fairly conservative. But it doesn't matter, because social conservatism doesn't fucking matter when you're producing material results for people's immediate needs. That's the point I'm trying to fucking make. Why are people so dense? Why is this so difficult to comprehend? That's literally the entire principle that I am advocating for here in the United States of America. This is something that I believe people overlook social conservative leanings and social conservative tendencies when you offer them material improvements. That's it. Material improvements in the form of good policies, an expansion of the welfare state, addressing their needs, tackling the affordability crisis. That's it. I'm Mexican, and I'm telling chat that HASANABI is wrong on this. Dude, Ayotzinapa is having its anniversary in a couple days. The revolutionary spirit, even in today's, everywhere, because Morena listened to the people. One of the Morena pundits is on the flotilla. She showed interest in talking with you. I can translate. See your white-sican ass out of Flexican business. Stay out of the Flexican business. Shut the fuck up. It's not. You know nothing. Okay, first of all, I think people are misunderstanding something that I'm saying. Like, fundamentally misunderstanding something I'm saying. People's personal social conservatism is not reflected in their politics if you have a party that cares about the economy, okay? That is proof in the pudding. The argument that I'm making is that they don't make it someone else's business. They don't give a shit when they're voting. That's just how human beings are. Like, no matter how transphobic someone might be, if you go up to them and say, hey, you are saddled with medical debt, I'm going to fix that. You're not going to go, oh, well, are you going to punish trans people as well? Because if not, I'm out. No human being thinks like that, okay? They vote with their pockets. There's a reason why Zoran is doing better than any other candidate with the conservatives, with the exception of fucking Curtis Sliwa, who is the literal Republican in the New York race. He's a fucking brown Muslim socialist. His name is Zoran Kwame Mamdani. Why the fuck's he outperforming Andrew Cuomo, who's basically a Republican, and Eric Adams? How? How is he way more woke, way more progressive than those guys, and he's outperforming those guys? One must think there's probably a reason for it, because conservatives want fast and free buses too. It's that simple. I know what you're saying, but I think transphobes might be a bad example. They tend to explode their lives out of obsession. No, you're talking about Matt Walsh. I'm talking about regular ass transphobic people that are just like, yeah, it's weird and gross. I don't want to see it. That kind of transphobic person is like the normal kind of transphobe. The one that like could be easily convinced if there was a chill ass fucking trans coworker to be like, oh, I thought you guys were subhuman. It turns out you weren't. My bad. That is like the norm, okay? Normal people don't fucking hyper obsess about trans people all the goddamn time. They don't think about it. That's a fucking insane thing to do. You are comparing Matt Walsh with like an average working class person who just kind of is weirded out and scared by the existence of trans people because it kind of bricks their previous binary, antiquated concept of gender, like their understanding of gender. Ultimately, those people can very easily be convinced. If you are a party that can be humiliated by the opposition to only care about giving Guatemalan transgender migrants bottom surgery in prison, that can only happen if you have no discernible policies that people can associate you with, then yeah, people are gonna be like, what the fuck is this shit? Why do they care about this? Why don't they care about me? Anyway, there's a reason why Bernie Sanders is so goddamn popular, okay? He is an 874-year-old Jewish man, and yet in a country like the United States of America, he's so fucking popular. How is that possible? Is it because he's sexy? Is it because he's charismatic? No, none of those reasons. It's because he is an earnest communicator that seeks to address the material harms that American working class people are experiencing. And he's been punished by the establishment for it for years and years and years. That's why he's seen as like an outsider, even though he's been in politics for 700 years. Oh. Searchlight Institute, top issues that battleground voters say leaders should focus on today are affordability, healthcare, and jobs. What? But when asked which top 3 issues they think the Democratic Party is focused on, they say climate change, LGBTQ plus issues, and healthcare. It's not bad that they at least say healthcare. Why didn't Bernie get the Dem votes in the primaries in 2016? Oh my God, do not open this fucking can of worms again. Because the instruments of the party and the base of support that votes in the number one, the base of support for the Democratic Party that votes in the primary elections is the most loyal, blue no matter who, establishment Democrat aligned, more conservative voters as opposed to the general election. Okay? That's number one. And this is a reality that many people do not understand. They also consistently act as though that's not the case because those are the people who care about like whatever the Democrats have billed themselves as defending. Okay? That's number one. Number two, those guys are incredibly malleable. They are very susceptible to the framing of like MSNBC, New York Times, and things of that nature. Okay? So they are at the mercy of whatever the fuck they say is electable. And they kept repeatedly saying, in spite of so many polls that showed this wasn't the case and that Bernie would have had a 10-point lead on fucking Donald Trump. That's you want to know something that's fucking really blackpilling, okay? In 2016, numerous polls were conducted on Bernie Sanders' performance and Hillary Clinton's performance against Donald Trump. Bernie Sanders was outperforming Hillary Clinton by 10 points against Donald Trump. And yet, all of the narratives were Bernie's not electable. Bernie's not electable. He's too radical. He's too radical. He's too radical. So they badgered people over the head with how shitty Bernie was going to be. Anyway, Donald Trump himself recognized Bernie Sanders would be too hard to fucking defeat. He kept saying it over and over again, all the way back then. But ultimately, there was also a lot of shit. Ugh. Don't forget the super delegate situation. I know. There was a lot of institutional hurdles presented against Bernie Sanders. I think if 2028, if there's an election, we'll have a different Dem primary base, but I don't know how we can fill that Bernie role. I'm sorry, but AOC is not that person. I don't think AOC is ready for that person right now, but who knows what might happen in the next 3 years. But anyway. Do you see Ryan Walters pledging a Turning Point USA chapter for every high school in Oklahoma? I fucking don't know what to say to that. Are you okay? No, I'm relitigating age-old wounds at this point that I have spent my entire political career having to address over and over again. So no, I am not okay. But yeah. In any case, we're here Don't believe anybody who says America's so much more conservative than you think it is. Oh my God. Because those people, whether they're oblivious to this reality or not, are unwittingly defending this notion that you have to tack to the right over and over again. And that is precisely the reason why they keep fucking losing. Okay? I'll leave you on some good news. More countries are pledging military vessel support to the Gaza flotilla. Spain announced today that it will send an official military ship to protect the global Samud flotilla, which is carrying humanitarian aid to Gaza following the attacks on the civilian vessels early this morning. There is a. I'll just leave you on that good note. Are you sweating? No, I have Austin coming over. We're gonna go and fucking get my big zits taken care of. And we're going to film it for Patreon, patreon.com/fearan. Were you ever Hamilton pilled? No, of course not. Don't be crazy.
Hey.
Anyway, everybody, love you all, and I'll see you tomorrow, okay?
But I'm
Department memo obtained and published by WikiLeaks. Imagine being one of the thousands of Americans who were told you had to risk your life to destroy Al-Qaeda, only to die doing so, and then watch your own government welcome a longtime Al-Qaeda leader to your own country and have General Petraeus gently ask how he's holding up. If you don't understand that America's fucking war on terror was simply for it was blood and soil politics, and it was simply for material gains for the super wealthy in this goddamn country. If this image is not a wake-up call for you, I don't know what the fuck to tell you. You're a dumbass, okay? All of the racism that you're hopped up on is the only thing that keeps you going. This is why we say wars are not fought to be won, okay? Can you explain why Hamas, a resistance group, while Al-Qaeda is considered terroristic, both are consequences of imperial action? Easy. Asked and answered. 1. Affiliations with not only the CIA, but also State Department allies that have no business in the fucking regions that it operates. 2. A colonial interest in taking over territory that it does not belong to Al-Qaeda or ISIS. Okay? Hamas has never operated outside of the boundaries of historic Palestine. They've never done that. Never done that at all. It is a nationalist emancipatory movement against Israel, which is a settler colonial operation. Al-Qaeda and ISIS, on the other hand, have grand ambitions beyond like, I don't know, resisting against, I don't know who the fuck they would be resisting against, honestly. They love doing terror attacks in the Western world. They want to build an Islamic caliphate or some version of an Islamic caliphate. And they just prop up wherever it is in the best interest of the United States of America to have an enemy that they must squash. In the month marking 9/11's anniversary, former CIA Director David Petraeus tells the former Syrian al-Qaeda leader and now Syrian President Ahmed al-Sharaa, a.k.a. Mohammed al-Jalani, that your success is our success. Petraeus also gushes that Jalani's record since taking power has validated Petraeus' policy of supporting the al-Qaeda-dominated insurgency's regime change war. Does Petraeus feel validated that Jalani's forces have killed hundreds of people in sectarian massacres, as they also did throughout the CIA-sponsored Dirty War? Presumably. What's more a mystery is why former CIA chief is praising former al-Qaeda leader who recently had a $10 million bounty on his head isn't attracting any controversy or self-reflection for those cheered on this CIA success. The sectarian massacres that he's referencing are well, if you listen to what Jalani has said, outside of his control, but it was the same forces. Syria is a hotbed of radicalization due to the civil war that took place and due to all of the outside trained elements that exist still in fucking Syria. Okay? Turkey plays a big role in this. Obviously, the Free Syrian Army is comprised of Salafists, jihadists of all different backgrounds, for the record, literally from all the way from the region down to fucking Uyghurs, okay? They have motherfucking Chinese Salafists in the Free Syrian Army. That shit is crazy. It is a hotbed of sectarian violence. Anyway, did you see al-Jalani's speech today? First person he thanked was Turkey, of course, because Turkey is the reason why HTS is now in power in Syria. I've been saying this. That is also part of the reason why Western powers did not even remotely criticize Recep Tayyip Erdogan for prosecuting and arresting the main opposition leader, who was the governor of Istanbul, okay, which is a supremely important position in Turkish politics. He just straight up locked his ass up. The most popular opposition figure in Turkey, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, straight up threw in jail, okay, over ridiculous claims. And not a single Western leader turned around after so many protests took place in Turkey. Not a single Western leader turned around and said, "Oh, what the fuck? What are you doing? That you can't do that. That's crazy." Do you want to know why? That's because that was a gift to Recep Tayyip Erdogan. He can currently do whatever the fuck he wants. The reason why he can currently do whatever the fuck he wants is because of Syria, because that was a major gift to both Israel and America. Okay? Orduda filan değilse ortalama bir Amerikalının Suriye dönenlerini anlaması mümkün değil. Anyway. Man, you must never want to go back. I do. Of course I do. I want to go back. I want to see my fucking family. But it's, you know, that doesn't mean I'm going to lie. A new HRW report on Syria documents widespread abuse by government force, including summary executions, deliberate destruction of property, and abuse of detainees. These findings show that these crimes unfolded within a framework of centrally coordinated military operation directed by the Defense Ministry, whose officials continued to coordinate deployments even after the mass killings became public. The Human Rights Watch report, March atrocities demand senior level accountability from the Human Rights Watch. They're talking about the Syrian transitional government. Someone said, Kai opened the fridge again. You liars. This was the Alawite communities getting massacred after the Syrian transitional government took power. There were a lot of revenge killings that took place. The official statement from Jolani was that it was not done under his control. There's also the Druze. Turks want to take out the Kurds. Israel wants to use the Druze population in Syria to their advantage. It's Syria is a fucking powder keg. Okay? I've been saying it. It is a goddamn powder keg waiting to fucking explode, with numerous regional actors salivating at the prospect of taking over control over Syria in its entirety. The HTS-backed government is thankful for Turkey, it seems. But if you ask the Turks, they're not happy about it either, because, I think one of the things that they did, a symbolic thing that the Syrian government did that they were very pissed off about, I'm not so certain exactly how this took place, but apparently they put a visa fee on Turks going to Syria, which was like $200 or something, and a lot of Turks were pissed off about that. I want Syria to have democratic elections. Okay? I want Syria to have democratic elections. I want Syria to be a sovereign nation. And these sorts of initiatives don't give me a lot of confidence that Syria will ever have a moment of peace. Yeah, meanwhile, Israel is also doing Israel shit. Israeli defense minister officially declares Syrian territory of Mount Hermon a part of Greater Israel. Also, if you remember, Israel literally bombed fucking Damascus like a couple months ago. So even when you have an American-backed puppet state that is in control of Syria, it's still receiving unlimited death and destruction from the other regional allies of the United States of America. I don't know if al-Shaddad was involved in the massacres. He could have been for sure, but his military force is made up of people close to his command, but also directly commanded Turkish puppets, foreign Salafists, local sectarian militias, and soldiers for hire. Syria state institutions barely exist because of the war, and Assad hollowed it out into a narco trafficking ring. Yes, I know. I understand that. I'm just saying that as it stands currently, there's a shit ton of Syrian people that I'm sure would welcome the democratic process and would want it to take place. The problem is it is also a multicultural and multi-ethnic society with many warring factions within it because of the way that British and French colonialists designed the entire region. This is the same reason why Lebanon is the way it is. It's the same reason why all of these countries are the way that they are. Oftentimes, they would take this like multi-ethnic society and they would place a reliable minority group in charge of everybody else. But ultimately, I think the biggest hurdle for success in Syria, for democracy to thrive in Syria, is Israel. Not to be the guy, and Turkey certainly is not helpful either, but I think Turkey probably would want more stability in Syria than Israel does. Anyway. Can you explain the whole visa thing that is causing people to get off planes and shit? I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, the H-1B thing? Yeah, and the electoral system they set up does not exactly encourage confidence. As far as I understand, it's an electoral college based on local leadership and delegates instead of direct election. Turkey's only concern is the Kurds. They don't give a fuck about the Syrians. Yes and no. You said Israel instead of Turkey? No, I'm saying Israel does not want a stable Syria. Turkey doesn't necessarily care about a stable Syria. It doesn't mind a stable Syria as long as they have control over Kurdish held territory. Kamala talked about Gaza after being interrupted by protesters 3 times. Harris addresses Gaza in her dissent to the Biden admin in this video clip, but also those who didn't vote for her because of that helped led to Trump's winning. We are here right now. Didn't have to be this way in terms of the blank check this president is given.
Aaron, as you know, back to this point, it seems like, we need to talk about it a little bit more, is 5 months after October 7th.
Yeah, if the blank check had a D next to it, it's good. Blank check with an R next to it, bad. That's how it works. Yeah, Turkey does want a stable Syria so they can send millions of Syrians back to Syria as well. Or at least like at the domestic level, there is a lot of interest in that.
I gave a speech at the foot of the Edmund Pettus Bridge in commemoration of Bloody Sunday. And I was the first person at the highest level of our United States government or administration to talk about the fact that the people in Gaza were starving. That was a year and a half ago.
Yeah. Good thing she didn't say shit after. And also sent Richie Torres to fucking Michigan and Bill Clinton to Michigan. And also said she wouldn't change a damn thing outside of getting a Republican in her cabinet. And also paraded around with Liz Cheney. And also tried to adopt the positions of the opposition party from 4 years prior when it came to the most consequential broad standing policy, immigration. Good thing she also said, we need to have the most lethal military under my command. You know, all of those things combined on top of, I'm going to be a small business. My mother was a small business. Here's $50,000 in tax credits for small businesses was her major fucking policy provision for all of the economic hardships that every American was experiencing. And it turns out people were too stupid, I guess. It's so crazy that people like, what are we doing? Why do liberals have this tendency to only demonstrate party loyalty against their left flank when they don't deserve it? I promise you, if Republicans were this aggro about not offering anything to their base of support, they probably would revolt. They almost did with the Jeffrey Epstein shit, and that's like marginal. Hello? Excuse me? Is it playtime? What's happening? She recognizes the wrongs, but willingly went against it because she has no conviction. All I hear when she talks post-election is just excuses, makes her look worse. Yeah. What the dog doing? I don't know what the dog doing. She just thought it's free roam time. She's on the I told you so tour, basically just speaking down on people about how they would have been marginally better and continue not to address the needs of the people. Oh.
And to talk, and people in our administration can tell you what my voice was in those rooms, in those closed rooms in the Oval Office. I was not president. I couldn't make the decisions.
It don't matter. You were running for president. You should have forcibly separated yourself from the admin. This is what I kept saying over and over again. Biden is a fucking anchor around Kamala Harris's neck. Cut it. Cut the dead weight, literally and figuratively. And she didn't do it. And she still defends that position, even though the Biden admin literally shit on her after the fact. It doesn't make no sense. Kamala Harris explaining in her book why not a single Palestinian or Arab American was allowed to speak at the DNC. Harris continues to write and speak lots of words and say nothing. None of this means anything. The issue was never abstract humanity affirmation of Palestinians. It was not a yoga retreat. It was supporting policies that ended their mass killing, which she refused to do. There have been speculation that Chicago might erupt in violence as it did in 1968 during the Vietnam War. That hadn't happened. Minion's team had worked closely with Chicago police, everyone on the same page regarding the importance of respecting free speech and practicing de-escalation if things got heated. The Gaza protests outside the convention remained mostly peaceful. Inside, also, Minion had made sure that every delegation had a veteran whip, someone with long experience of conventions, taking the temperature of their delegates and working for solidarity. But there was tension and some bitterness that we had not given a speaking slot to a Palestinian spokesperson. I knew that the section of my speech dealing with Gaza war had a lot riding on it. As David Wandrell wrote in the Washington Post, it was the rockiest, most perilous passage. Her 5 degrees of difficulty straddle on the war in Gaza. She charged right in and defended Israel. And just as it felt as though the room might split, she affirmed the humanity and suffering of the Palestinians. She then moved into a peroration on the subject that everyone was able to cheer for. And behold, she had her boat through the impossible strait. She lost. So clearly, it didn't work. Oh. Yeah, I know. She said, I'm not president right now. There's nothing I can do at the end of the clip. Yeah, neither am I. But that doesn't stop us from trying, does it? Neither are the thousands of people in this community. The centrist backing Dover's left bashing. The reason they smear protests is because they can't articulate a defense of by the Biden-Harris policy on Gaza. Harris couldn't in her book. Biden aides are now running away from it. Biden, of course, can't articulate it, so they feel better about themselves by smearing the critics. That's precisely what's going on. It's the same performative loser, says centrism fan account, another fucking annoying libtard. It's the same performative losers who exclusively protest Dems on whatever issue of the day: Green New Deal, immigration, Medicare for all, fight for 15, etc., etc. All they care about is shitting on Dems. These guys have designed a reality where they think their inability to address the demands being made by broad subsects of American society in the base of support for the Democratic Party is actually something that they must avoid. They must ignore. These guys are simply spoilers. I don't understand it. They just literally write it off as these guys only have smoke for the Democrats. Okay? I don't. I have smoke for the Republicans first and foremost. That's why Republicans fucking hate me. That's why they talk about how they want to murder me all day, every day. I have smoke for the goddamn liberals for their closeness to the Republicans when there is no reason for them to do so. Okay? And I was right. We were right. That's the craziest part about this, is that we were right. The people saw the Democratic Party leaning closer and closer to the fucking Republicans on so many issues, and they didn't like it. That kept them from voting. And we're still relitigating it like as though there was something even remotely defensible about what took place in this election. If they took it seriously, if they took the threat of fascism sincerely, they would have done something about it instead of staying the course and trying to win by their own grand design, which was an abject failure. This failed notion that they were going to convert and flip Republican moderates. It didn't work. And it's obvious as to anyone with a brain, they want Republicans to win. It makes them happy. Name a single issue that they've actually achieved anything. An issue where what they were advocating was made better. You can't. The only achievements they have is electing Republicans and making every single pet issue even worse. Oh, God. You only do this if you are only invested in team sports. Okay? Why not just be a Republican then? This is what I don't understand. Why not just be a Republican? Republicans dominate, okay? They won the election. I guess the only solution here is to be a Republican, right? Become a registered Republican. No, you want to lord over some kind of moral superiority or intellectual superiority over the fucking unwashed masses of evangelical Christians while simultaneously abiding by whatever fucking whims they have. There is no issue that you won't cave on. There is no issue that you won't capitulate on. They're even fucking saying this about abortion. There is no reason. There is no reason to cave on abortion, right? It's a deeply unpopular issue for the Republicans. And even then, you got Center for American Progress's very own Neera Tanden talking about we gotta elect, Ezra Klein said, we gotta elect pro-life Democrats. There's nothing we can do. It's like, who? What? Why? Why is that a fucking issue? It's an objective worst performer for the motherfucking Republicans, and you're deciding for fun, it seems, to cave on that too? What is there that remains that separates the Democrats from the Republicans at that point? It doesn't make any sense. And then they turn around and say, well, look around. Look at how awful the Republicans are. It's like, we know that they're fucking awful. So stop agreeing with them. They're awful. They're manic. They're hysterical. Why the fuck would you abide by their framing? What are they asking when they say exclusively protest Dems? Like you protested Trump to say immigration? Would they want you telling their base to vote for Trump because he changed? Well, but the thing is, these guys don't protest anything, okay? So, of course, they're oblivious to the fact that we protest Trump every fucking day, okay? I've gone to a shit ton of protests against Donald Trump. None of these fucking pieces of shit have actually attended a single goddamn protest. All they want to do is protest the left. Even when Trump is in charge, they still want to protest the left. So it's pure projection what they're saying. Do you not understand? I've never met a leftist that has been like, well, the centrist liberals lost this election, so I guess our job is done. What can we fucking do? I've never met a leftist that has said that. They have been out there in the fucking streets, okay? PSL is there every goddamn day. The administration is literally putting a crosshair on them, saying that they're a foreign-funded, possible terrorist organization, and they're still doing protests. Oh. The reason they smear protesters is because they can't articulate a defense of the Biden-Harris policy on Gaza is correct. Throughout all of 2024, the Biden campaign barely even tried to articulate a defense of his Gaza policy while he was running for president. They just scolded protesters. The president was so proud of it, but was barely willing to speak about it publicly. In order to win elections, the fundamental principle of democracy is that you are supposed to listen to the demands being made by voters. Okay? Some demands are going to be ridiculous. Like on the right, people make demands like, abortion restrictions or fucking killing every Guatemalan person or whatever the fuck, right? Those are ridiculous demands. Those are the demands of your opposition. Okay? Those are the demands of your fucking opposition. You're not supposed to listen to that. And you're supposed to say, okay, you're a freak, right? Move on. But the demands coming from your side, you have to listen to. And not only do you have to listen to the demands coming from your side, your base of support, but you also need to set an agenda that is as broad encompassing as possible. A universal program, for example, to say, to be associated with. Universal healthcare is a great example of this. You could just say, I'm going to give every fucking American healthcare, okay, that you're going to pay with your tax dollars. We already pay a lot more right now than we otherwise would if this entire system was socialized, okay? Universal childcare, universal healthcare, universal schooling, all the way up to fucking college. These are things that you could put your name next to, and you would win a lot of favors with a lot of people, especially if they start beginning to trust you that you will actually earnestly advocate for this and fight for this. Okay? But Democrats don't want to do that. And in the absence of that being a way to run and win favors with the crowd in a popularity contest, you have to keep finding new ways of saying, well, we got to cave on this thing because the right has won on this issue. We got to cave on this other thing that the right has won on. You don't even present them an argument to be reactionary against. You allow the reactionaries to lead the conversation. You end up fighting in their territory. This is super simple shit. I don't know how the fuck the Democrats refuse to hear this out. It almost feels like they've bludgeoned their heads with like extreme centrism for so long that they just have an inability to hear this out. This basic fundamental concept of the democratic process. Votes are not taken for granted, okay? You are not entitled to the votes of the population. If you think you are, you're going to keep fucking losing. And that's precisely why we've lost twice to an incompetent charlatan who is a thin-skinned, egomaniacal, narcissistic, fascist piece of shit. A monster in every right. You can keep yelling at the left for trying to get you kicking and screaming to advocate for things that would be good for you, would be beneficial in the long run, and it's good policy and it's good politics. But ultimately, you just have to do it. And if you don't do it, we're just going to keep losing. And things are going to deteriorate even further. Oh. Last night, Harris was very quick to praise Mobile, Alabama mayoral candidate Barbara Drummond and name her a star just to avoid talking about Zoran. Drummond just lost to a Republican in a city that voted Democratic by double digits last year. Wait, what the fuck? She got hit with the curse. I'm not even saying this reflects poorly on Drummond. It just shows that Harris has no idea what she's talking about when she anoints someone a star. Mobile is 51% black and a Republican won. It does reflect poorly. Oh. Kamala Harris called Drummond a rising star. Turns out she's 69 years old. The Democrats are relying on the Republicans creating so much discontent that people have no other option but to vote for them come 2028, if there's even an election then at all. And the same principle applies to the midterms. I'm not so certain that they will have a banger midterm election, especially because their inability to address any of the anger that is growing organically without them steering us in that direction at all is is going to actually yield the positive results that they're predicting. We have unprecedented unpopularity for the Democrats at a time when they're supposed to be automatically popular because the administration is incredibly unpopular. This is an alarm. This is a warning sign. This is a warning sign. The very fact that the Democrats are not automatically popular here, when there are certain Democrats who are, like the Zohran Mamdanis of the world, right, implies that there is a major issue with the way that the National Democratic Party is perceived by everyone. It doesn't really matter, however, because no matter how many times I fucking talk about this shit, everyone's still going to go, la, 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 I can't hear you. You just hate the Dems. You just want the Republicans to fucking win. I don't. Oh. Where's that Chuck Schumer quote? I saw that. It was crazy. I don't want to personally go after people, but it just has to be noted that Dover has for years smeared Palestine protesters with misinformation like he's doing again here, and his mother is an editor for Al Gemeiner, a pro-Netanyahu rag. Yeah, he is one of the most cynical grifters in mainstream news, by the way. Edward Isaac Dover, who literally fucking highlighted a Hasbara smear op against me for participating, for headlining the fucking New York Magazine event or the New Yorker event. I forget. I always mistake the two. He absolutely despises the left flank of the party, and he despises anti-Zionists, and he despises all the fucking socialists. It's ridiculous. And he's a hatchet man for extreme centrist liberalism for some weird reason. Okay? As happened at an Obama event last week, Harris tonight in New York was interrupted by protesters screaming about Gaza. As Obama did, she responded in part that she doesn't have any foreign policy power right now. Protesters like these have not been at any Trump or Vance events. This is untrue. This is a categorical falsehood that he is presenting. The notion that these protesters are not at every single fucking Trump event. These protesters are not literally taking it directly to Trump, like Code Pink did just a couple weeks ago when Donald Trump said he's going to fucking have them arrested, is ridiculous. Pro-Palestinian protesters interrupt Trump dinner in D.C. That was Code Pink. Watch, J.D. Vance heckled as he meets National Guard in Washington, D.C. Stop Gaza genocide. Protesters interrupt Marco Rubio. I believe this was also, again, Code Pink and also Ben and Jerry's. Pro-Palestinian protesters take over Trump Tower in New York. Pro-Palestinian demonstrators, Jewish Voice for Peace, took over the President Donald Trump's hotel in New York on Thursday in protest of activist Mahmoud Khalil's arrest. These are the guys who just refuse to fucking recognize that these people are protesting. Lol, who do you think you're fooling? It's so funny because they have no constituency. That's what is the reason why I don't usually talk about these fucking dipshits on Twitter is because they have no audience. Liberalism has been an abject fucking failure, even though it is still very much monoculture here. Okay. So they have no real human beings that go, that's my fucking politics. Okay. They don't have anything. They don't have any audience, but they're, really fucking annoying. He says, it's true that Code Pink protesters yelled at Trump when he went out to his dinner in DC photo op. But what tends to happen at Dem events is more extensive and often more coordinated. Multiple people who wait for hours sometimes pay for tickets. That's bullshit. I fucking hated that shit. Huh? Elon Musk is no longer following Charlie Kirk. Oh my God. Mystical Turkish lead melting ritual.
This
yes.
woman was invited to my aunt's house to perform the Turkish version of lead pouring. This is a pagan ritual where molten lead or tin is dropped into cold water over a person's head. The ritual often begins with a prayer from the Quran and several maneuvers to open our energy for biohealing. After this stage, we were not allowed to cross our arms or legs because that would impair the flow of energy.
Your PhD having parents did that to you? Yes, bro. They're fucking nutty. People can be nutty, even if they're brilliant, even if they're very well read. That's what I'm saying. Do you not understand? Are you telling us you're a full metal political commentator? What part of you is metal?
After this, she burned sage and put a coin in the bowl full of cold water. A piece of garlic was also involved, but I don't really remember what that symbolized. Now time to melt the lead while Lorenzo panics about lead poisoning. When it's liquid, we put a blanket over low and prepare to dump the molten
they put a
metal
blanket
into
over your
cold
head.
water and interpret the shapes when it cools. Straight lead.
In a nice ladle.
Yeah.
To be honest, you missed 1/3 of the American populace fearing its children were becoming demonic when Harry Potter arrived. To be honest, I think you just overcorrected when you left r/atheism spaces. Ask Caroline about it. I'm not even exaggerating. I've heard this before, yes.
And then the lead's going to go in the cold water and she's going to read the shape.
This is done to provide insights into the future and absorb the dark energies of that person.
Yeah, no, that scared the fuck out of me when I was a kid, bro. Straight up.
Don't be scared.
That was very close. It felt very close.
Vantep sana da yaptılar mı lan? Amerika'da bile yaptılar ha? Vantep, did you do this? Did your parents do this shit to you too? Yok, babaannemin evinde görmüştüm ama. Oh, he says it happened in his fucking grandmother's home. Bro, this shit was so scary. Oh my God. You don't understand when you're a kid. You don't understand when you're a fucking kid and you're under the covers like that. And then like you're just hearing the lead drop into cold water. That shit is terrifying. I hated this shit. I hated it so much. I forgot about it until that one chatter brought it up. That's crazy. You just unlocked memories, ancient memories in my brain. That's wild. Anyway, what a fucking crazy time to be alive, man.
Thank you.
Bernie Sanders talking about there are two Americas. All right, old man. Fuck. There was some other shit I wanted to talk about. Oh yeah, we got Ukraine news as well. But before we get to that, look at this. The White House hanged photos of every president. And when it came to Joseph Robinette Brandon, they did some petty shit that I have to admit is pretty funny. Let's take a look.
Trump's latest renovation of the White House is underway, but this time it's a new step that takes a dig at his predecessor. Along this colonnade that stretches by the Rose Garden that ultimately leads to the Oval Office, there's a new video that the president's aides posted today of what they have dubbed the Presidential Walk of Fame. There are gold letters above it, and there are these gold frames with each containing a black and white image of all the presidents that came before President Trump. As it stretches down the line, you see Democrats and Republicans alike, from Jimmy Carter to the Bushes to President Obama. But one president...
That's the craziest dig, because like these guys used to hate Obama because he's black and therefore the Antichrist. And they even gave Obama an official portrait. But the smoke they have for Joseph Robinette Brandon,
photo
dude.
stands out in particular. That is President Biden's, because instead of seeing an image of President Biden, they have instead replaced it with the image of an auto pen. Of course, President Trump has been fixated on President Biden's use of the auto pen. He actually even ordered an investigation into it, implying that the things that his name and his signature were attached to were not actually decisions that Biden made himself. Of course, we've heard from President Biden on these accusations from his successor, and President Biden has said anything that has his name on it, decisions on executive orders, pardons, and the like, that was a decision that President Biden says he made himself.
That's pretty funny. I can't lie, dude. I mean, he's so fucking evil. And in many respects, he's so goddamn evil, but he's so funny sometimes. Like, this is one of those moments, man. I can't believe it. Unbelievable. This is so stupid. The replies, oh shit, okay. Jeffrey Epstein, Benjamin Netanyahu. So stupid. Did you see Biden recently? Yes, I did. Clearly, he would have been perfect as president. A lot of you guys are being really mean about my big, beautiful president who looks completely there. Okay? Maybe we should try again in 2028. Trump, after all, Trump got one. Why can't Biden? You know? There it is. That's the real reason why I forced Kamala Harris to lose the election with my commentary, because I could not let it go. I could not have my president, Joseph Robinette Brandon, get disrespected this severely, this openly. A real betrayal that I could not allow. And here we are. That's it.
He is once again the focus of attention. All eyes on President Zelensky at the UN. After Donald Trump's U-turn, saying Ukraine has a chance of victory in its war with Russia.
Do you believe you can win the war with Russia? Can you beat Russia now with American support?
Whatever Trump is saying, though, Ukraine's leader was reserving judgment. Earlier in the hall above, President Zelensky urged the world to halt Russia's aggression and the spiraling drone arms race it's unleashed.
We must use everything we have together to force the aggressor to stop. And only then do we have a real chance that this arms race will not end in catastrophe for all of us. If it takes weapons to do it, if it takes pressure on Russia, then it must be done. And it must be done now. Otherwise, Putin will keep driving the war forward wider.
And he made this claim about divine intervention and the US president that won't lose him any favor in the White House.
Weapons decide who survives. Excellencies, yesterday President Trump stood right here in this hall, and God saved him from a murder attempt during the campaign.
After his speech at the UN yesterday, Donald Trump surprised the world by saying for the first time that Russia might lose the war, calling its military a paper tiger and saying Ukraine could take back all its borders.
Everyone's a Maoist now, bro. That's Mao that originally called the United States a paper tiger. And now everyone, the paper tiger itself is now calling every other enemy of the United States a paper tiger. Not that people know that. I'm pretty sure people don't understand that that's like a initially
Donald
a
Trump's
Maoist.
apparent pivot on Ukraine is the talk of the UN General Assembly, but Western diplomats are urging caution. This president has been so erratic on the conflict, they say. He must be judged on his deeds and not his words.
As US Secretary of State Marco Rubio was meeting his Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov in Moscow, the Kremlin was shrugging off the US president's withering description of Russia's military as a paper tiger.
Russia is certainly not a tiger. After all, Russia is more associated with the bear. There are no paper bears. Russia is a real bear. Putin has repeatedly and with varying degrees of emotion described our bear. You can recall this for yourself.
Every UN General Assembly has its moment. This year it belongs to this man, the jihadi turned statesman and revolutionary new leader of Syria. Ahmad al-Sharaa finished his speech focusing on the other war of our time, the conflict in Gaza.
We stand firmly with the people of Gaza, its children and women and all peoples facing violations and aggression. We call for an immediate end to the war. In conclusion, the Syrian story has not come to an end. It continues to write a new chapter.
It's just more Zelensky. Jolensky.
entitled Peace, Prosperity, and Development, and may the peace of God be upon you.
For both Gaza and Ukraine, in truth, it's the same this year at the UN as any other. For all their fine words, it's what leaders actually do next that matters, if escalating conflict is to be averted. Dominic Waghorn, Sky News, New York.
One of the wildest things that Donald Trump said was that not only is he going back to the Brandonian response to Russia, but he is also quite literally taking the maximalist position, saying that Ukraine has the capacity to take all of the land. I'm not so certain how that will happen. I'm sorry. Zelensky saying to avoid violence is literally just the same as Donald Trump calling on people to stop being best friends with pedophiles, sex traffickers. I can't take it seriously. You mean Zelensky? Can you explain why people don't like the Syrian president? I don't quite understand, to be honest. I'm missing something. Yes, the thing you're missing is that he was the former leader of Al-Qaeda and straight up beheaded motherfuckers and had a $10 million bounty on his head. You can literally go back. Like, they didn't even delete those tweets. This is straight up correct, no matter which way you cut it. The bounty was on his head a year ago. I mean, he no longer has, I don't think he has the bounty on his head still, but. Oh, but why leftists don't like him now? Is he selling out to the U.S.? Wait, what? Don't like him now? Motherfucker, you think the leftists like Al-Qaeda? What are you, stupid? He's a 46-month subscriber. Now, I've never encountered a person who is a self-described leftist that's been like, fucking love Al-Qaeda, man. They're really taking it. They're really sticking it to the man. Sorry, not what I meant. Just I've seen more dislike for him recently. Sorry, didn't mean to say that leftists like Al-Qaeda. No, the reason why people dislike him is because, or didn't really talk about him in the past, is because he was the head of HTS, okay? A former Al-Qaeda, then an op to Al-Qaeda Islamist movement, Islamist militancy in Syria, okay? But with a big push from Turkey and also all of the initiatives that America and Israel conducted in the region, basically undermining or at least like taking the attention that all of the Iranian proxies had in the region with decapitation strikes, they saw an opportunity to strike and take out the Assad regime, which was also very brutal in and of itself. And then in the aftermath of that, Jolani became the de facto leader of the Syrian government. Initially, it was supposed to be a transitional government and there was supposed to be democracy. It's not going to happen anymore. Now it's just he's the president. And everyone is like, he's an institutionalist. He shaved. He cut his hair. Let bygones be bygones. He is, he's only former Al-Qaeda commander. It's not that big of a deal. And now all of the same people are presenting, all the same exact people that say like Hamas is an Islamist fundamentalist jihadist group like ISIS and Al-Qaeda, which is already not true. Okay, it's a nationalist liberation group. Those very same liberals are spending every waking moment talking to us about how this guy is actually a reformed institutionalist. But Evan Hill has a great take on this. He says, I'm not sure we'll ever get a better summation of the forever wars than this. Decades of war and death only for Petraeus to address President al-Shara with honorifics at a think tank event. If you're a special ops Punisher guy, what have you even been fighting for?
Assalamu alaikum, Sayyid Rais.
Ahlan wa sahlan.
Ahlan wa sahlan. And Sharaf Nasadi.
not the first time Al Qaeda and CIA has done a collaboration in New York, if you know what I mean. Hey, yo, I'm just saying. They had some crazy collabs, you know? Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, okay. You're acting like this was the intended outcome of U.S. policy. Much like Afghanistan, Syria has ended up in a place it is, with U.S. policy suddenly finding itself able to accommodate supposedly anathema movements in spite of 24 years of Washington's conventional wisdom on Islamism, jihadism, and terrorism, not because of it. It's just funny because it's like this is a lot of stuff that has taken place. A lot of stuff that has taken place in the last year, this Trump administration, whether it be the conversation that Sunstein had defending liberalism and talking about big tent liberalism, whether it be Donald Trump openly demanding tithing from the vassal states in Europe, or Israel clearly dog walking America when it comes to foreign policy. All of this stuff that we used to say, and liberals would look at us like we're fucking Alex Jones, but on the left. They're doing it in broad daylight. They're doing it in broad daylight. They're just openly doing it. And now those very same liberals who were like, you are such a conspiratorial asshole for saying these things, are just looking at this stuff and going, no, it's actually good. How dare you? It's just mind-boggling to me. Like they're openly like, this is us. This is what we do. Rule-based international order means nothing. It's just about a way for America to project power and to create casus belli, to go and rip apart entire nations and displace tens of millions when we see fit. That's what it was all about. Okay? And here it is, a perfect demonstration of this. And motherfuckers still talk about, dumbasses online still talk about Hassan is talking to terrorists. Hassan is defending terrorists. Like, what do you mean, bro? This is motherfucking David Petraeus. The fuck do you mean? David Petraeus doing a collab with Al Qaeda, and you're over here being like, the Houthis are terrorists. The Houthis are terrorists. Are you fucking insane? In New York. Yeah, here's the U.S. Embassy in Syria in 2017 offering. We remain committed to bringing out AQS figures in HTS to justice. Mohammed Al-Jablani. So many people don't even know this, too. They just think like, they just don't know. I've had a conversation with like normies about this shit where I'll be like, did you know this guy was Al-Qaeda? And they're like, what? They can't believe it. They're like, that's unbelievable. I know it doesn't matter, but it was Al-Qaeda, not ISIS. Either way, he's not the person I'd pick either, but he's the person we have, and he doesn't Al-Qaeda. He hasn't done Al-Qaeda shit yet. He's reformed, man. He's reformed. It's just funny because, like, I'm talking, first of all, I'm talking more so about the designation and how these groups are utilized in the region for destabilization, okay? And how, like, even Israel in Gaza has worked openly with ISIS affiliates, right? They have no issue working with ISIS affiliates. Israel has also collaborated with ISIS or ISIS affiliate groups in Syria, right? But then October 7 happens and they're like, Hamas is ISIS, Hamas is ISIS. Like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with this information? Sometimes it feels like I'm the only motherfucker that doesn't like ISIS or Al-Qaeda. You know what I mean? It kind of feels like the CIA, the American State Department, the Israeli government, they don't actually hate ISIS at all. You know what I mean? New top congressional GOP and White House allies are working behind the scenes to prevent a politically charged floor vote to release the government's Jeffrey Epstein case files next month. Multiple sources tell me. Oh my Lord. Al-Qaeda is on our side in Syria. Jake Sullivan to Hillary Clinton. They do that too. Once again, they do that all the fucking time. They do that all the fucking time. You just don't see it because you don't want to see it. So goddamn annoying. Anyway, here's Chuck Schumer's method for victory. Let's take a look.
Look, people are upset in general. They don't like the Democrats, they don't like the Republicans, and they don't like Trump even more than they don't like the Democrats. But here's what's really interesting, Joe.
Right, but the polls don't show that, though. That's my question to you.
Well, his numbers have gotten much, much worse.
There it is. During Biden's presidency, Biden and Harris spokespeople denied that the two had any disagreements over Gaza, by the way. Remember that. So remember whatever fucking bullshit that you're hearing now. It's all pure fantasy. The fact that Democrats only tie with Republicans on respect for democracy, the only issue they really lean into consistently, just shows how inadequate and failed the Dem leadership has been. Which party has a better plan from Politics and Poll Tracker? Crime, 40% Republicans. Immigration, 40% Republicans. Foreign conflicts, 35% Republicans. U.S. economy, 34% Republicans. Gun control, 32% Republicans. This is not because this country is busted in the brain and they're all reactionary. It's because the Republicans actually have a base. The Democrats have lost it. Understand? People look at these polls and misunderstand something fundamental here. They think, oh my God, people just really like the Republicans. We must become more like the Republicans. And in the act of becoming more like the Republicans, they lose even more favor within their base. This is why I always say we need bold and radical change in this fucking country. The reason why, even though Donald Trump is very unpopular, the Democrats are even less popular is because of this reality. They've like shied away from addressing any of the needs of their fucking base or anyone that's in the margins, by the way, which is a much larger percentage anyway. It's a plurality. Oh. We're all going to go to fucking concentration camps and the Democrats are going to be like, well, it wouldn't have happened if you voted for us harder. Republicans know that as long as they can maintain that reliable 25 to 30% psychopathic base, that Democrat unpopularity with the rest of the country, due to their inability to examine critically and address the needs, the immediate needs of the population, due to their unwillingness to address the immediate needs of the population, they can get away with winning marginal victories. I can't believe it. Dems are pretending we have to move further right, while even our more socially conservative neighbor is led by a pro-Palestine Jewish socialist who's polling at 80%. I wonder why. I wonder why she's polling at 80%. Maybe because they have a robust welfare state that they have the robust welfare state expansion policies that they've implemented even before she actually came into power that she's certainly continued. Perhaps that's the reason. Mexico is not more conservative. What? Really? You're going to tell me Mexico is not more socially conservative? Get the fuck out.